Hello folks, hope everything is going well in your worlds. Hope the start of your week is going well. Mine is going okay. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. Please use it, because we are on our way to getting 15,000 subscribers before the end of the year. If you could help me, it would be amazing. So thank you very much for those who have already helped, and for those of you who want to help me, it's down there, down below. If you think anybody can get any sort of good, positive stuff out of my videos, then please send my videos over to them. Maybe they can get a kick out of them, and I'll get a subscriber from there as well. Subscribers are the thing I'm going for towards the end of the year, so if you can help me get to 15k, that would be amazing. Thank you. And also, the Patreon's down below if you really like what I do and you want to do a Q&A question every now and again. Sometimes you want to talk to me in person, no worries, it's down there. And number 3, there is also a really cool prize draw down there from Composite Games, who do a lot to help out the channel. And if you want to get any sort of models over the next few weeks, make sure you use the link down below to go to Composite Games. Use the promo code Northern Exile down below to get yourself 5% off your order at checkout. Awesome stuff. Not only do you help them by giving them some business, which is very nice, but also you help me out as well. So thank you very much. Let's do some hobby nightmares, shall we? First things first, a bit of housekeeping. I have said this before, and I will say it again. If you send something in to me, every now and again, it will make its way into my feed to read. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Without me knowing, for instance, like I'll copy and paste something by accident, and it'll just end up in there, and it won't be able to be vetted before I read it, right? So please, if you are sending in a hobby nightmare, please check over it for spelling and grammar. Please check over it to make sure that it flows and is readable. The amount of time I've had to restart a recording session because something that I thought looked cool from the first paragraph or two turned into absolute gobbledygook that can't be read, alright? So please be careful. It takes you 5 minutes just to read over what you've done and then send it in. Please don't just verbally diarrhea it onto a page and then send it in. It's not great, alright? And also, please, if you don't want me to call you by your name, say it right at the start. Not a paragraph in when you've already referred to yourself by your real name a few times. That's caused a fair few of re-records as well, alright? So please make sure you're doing that. Those 2 things are awesome. Please do those 2 things. Due diligence always makes me like you a lot more when you send them in, right? I love it when I have something lovely to read. And the best hobby nightmares, they get the best responses are the ones that are well written, or at least, you put some effort into actually, doing your due diligence before you send it, So anyway, Grant says, "Hey North, I've been listening for a bit of over a year now and thought I'd share a hobby dream. Something the opposite of a hobby nightmare. Anyways, my name's Grant and I wanted to share a story of a recent trip I took to Australia and the amazing people I played with whilst travelling. I did get permission to name drop as I wanted to give credit to everybody involved. Now, a couple of months ago, work had me going to Australia for 2 weeks from the US, starting in Perth and potentially moving to other cities during the second week. Me being a 40k gamer and not getting as many games at home, I instantly started looking for local hobby shops in the area and their Facebook pages. Knowing I would be there for the weekend, I also checked Best Coast pairings for a potential RTT, which is a regional tournament, I think, if I remember correctly. There happened to be a tourney on a Sunday. News to me, but it was a duo setting where you have a teammate and 1,000 points each. I absolutely wanted to do this. But how to find a teammate? Well, I checked out the tournament organiser's Facebook page and reached out looking for any resources for the local area that I could use to find a potential partner. Keep in mind, this is about 10 days before the event itself. Anyhow, Mike, the tournament organiser, points me to another page that's affiliated with their circuit, as well as mentioning that he would start asking some locals if they had a partner. I posted to the page, I believe, within a day, and in a few hours, Mike had tagged somebody. He got a response. To say I was stoked was an understatement. Travel for work and play in a duos tournament without paying travel expenses in Australia? Score. Eric, the gentleman that agreed to roll with me, was an absolute blast. We messaged back and forth about armies and what we were bringing, and I settled on Eldar, as I'd been playing them since 8th edition and I was most familiar with them. He was bringing Tyranids, an odd pairing. We didn't bring any serious lists, though we didn't want to get steamrolled either. We agreed on a team name, Hive Circuit. We thought it would be pretty funny if the Tyranid snuck a little bug onto a craft world and corrupted the Infinity Circuit. Why not, right? Fast forward a couple of weeks, and game day comes. I show up, of course not knowing anybody, and Mike comes over within a couple of minutes to introduce himself. He's an awesome guy, and runs a solid tournament circuit in Western Australia called Objective Secured. We chat for a bit before Eric, my partner, shows up. Mike introduces us, and we start talking about my trip over, and that we are stoked to play that day. Dude, are you from, like, California or something? It's a simple 3-round tournament, with missions being drawn at random from the Leviathan deck. Perfect. I am a huge fan of random missions, as you need to be flexible in your game plan. I won't go much into the games, as it's a bit time consuming, but overall, I think we worked excellent as a team. Considering we only just met that day, had very different lists, and we ended up with a 2-to-1 winning ratio, winning the first 2 and playing on the top table for the grand prize going into round 3. Our opponents in round 3 were a little bit more competitive as expected, but we still had fun with it. Considering it was a non-competitive tournament and meant to get new people involved, it was a blast. It's one of those things where your teammate asks you, should I charge this just to see what happens? And you say, yeah, you absolutely should. Maybe everything dies and explodes, or maybe they're going to be locked in Mortal Kombat. All works for us. In the end, Eric and I had a blast winning our 2 games and playing for the top prize in the 3rd game, even if we didn't win. I was told there were several new people that showed up, as well as several women, which is good for the hobby. And something I have rarely seen even in Houston. Are you from Houston? Okay. I hung around for a minute afterwards, and after the awards were given out, talking to several people and having a great time before heading back to the hotel. I wanted to share this for a couple of reasons. Number 1, I know you share more than nightmares, and wanted everybody to know that in my experience, just go doing a little bit of searching on Google Maps and Facebook could net you a game or 2, or even some friends. Don't be afraid to ask. Plenty of people are out there looking for games. The more the merrier. We're all nerds in this together, so make the most of it. And number 2, the guys in Perth were absolute gems. Mike, the tournament organiser, and the gentleman who runs the Objective Secured group couldn't have been more helpful. Between answering questions, lining up a partner, and running the entire tournament, I couldn't have asked for anything more. As for my partner Eric, the gentleman was amazing. It helped that he knew the rules a little bit more than me, so I wasn't thinking too much. But he was entertaining for the whole day, and very communicative throughout the entire process. If anyone is ever in Perth or Western Australia and looking for a game, I would recommend checking out Objective Secured. The locals will know which shops are open later, and could assist in lining up games or even to meet up for hobby time. Don't be afraid to reach out. You never know what fun awaits. That's all I got. Thanks for reading. Grant. And he's right. He's right. This hobby is a social hobby. You may think you don't have any sociable skills, and that's fine, but you're never ever going to get a game unless you take the plunge. Please, make sure you use the game finder on our own Discord, the Northern Exile Discord, to get yourself some games if you don't have any already. And beyond that, there is Facebook, there is Reddit, there are all these other places where you can start to try and get games with other people. Most people out there are decent, most people out there will play you, and if you don't have very good social skills, the best thing to do, in my experience, in a new game with a new person is to tell them that you're not that good socially, so please bear with me. You know? Please bear with me a little bit. You know, I'm not that good socially, but, you know, I'm really looking forward to this game, man. If you say that, they're going to go, hey, this dude's stand up. I like this dude. He's honest. And they're going to go, yeah, man, no problem. Yeah, let's roll some dice. Let's have some fun, right? I don't know any hobbyist who's worth their salt who would turn you back at that stage. They'd be like, oh, this dude's a Chad. He really wants me to have a good game, and he's warning me of his past experiences. No problem. Let's get on with it, right? Those are the best people to play in this hobby. Be one of those. And don't be afraid to ask. Anyway, Angron Dude said, or says, hello, my exiled friend. Hello. I appreciate how fast you talked about my Angron previously that earned the flying and exploding keyword. I hope your granddad is doing well and you are too. I've got a few hobby-related nightmares or questions of what should I do. Okay, cool. My first situation. Oh, by the way, my granddad's doing fine. He's doing fine. He's old. You know, go figure. My first situation. A hobby friend of mine has been going through a rough time. His car broke down, issues with work, and other problems. Your friend isn't the person from the other video, is it? The one with the demon prince? I don't know. Well, he had advertised that he needed money and was selling a lot of armies and things. I ended up buying his unbuilt warlord and a huge AdMech army for about a quarter of what it was worth. I didn't haggle, I paid exactly what he asked for. I now had a big project, only about 20 out of the 100 AdMech were painted, and the Titan was still in the box. Or boxes. I had never built anything from Forge World, and starting with the second biggest model was definitely an experience in the learning. But I got it built and painted after about a month. Not long after that, the AdMech were painted and ready too. So, being proud of my new army, I posted a picture on the local shop's Discord. Soon after, the gentleman I bought everything from messaged me directly, saying he had the money and wanted to buy his army and Titan back. Uh-oh. I told him that it was mine and I had bought it. He claimed that it was collateral for a personal loan, which we hadn't discussed in our DMs when I bought it. I asked the guys that run the local game shop's Discord what should I do. They said it wasn't their business. This guy had been saying I stole his stuff from everybody. If I try to set up a game on Discord, he DMs the opponent and tells them I stole his models, and I have the screenshots on the sale that doesn't mention anything about it being a loan or that he would expect them back. I'm tired of having to show screenshots and questions just to play. I ended up threatening him with legal action because the sale happened in the store's Discord, the shop stepped in on my side and banned the guy from the Discord. What would you have done? Exactly what you did. Exactly what you did. If you've got proof that it wasn't a loan or collateral for a loan and you just bought the stuff, exactly what you did. Fuck that guy. Honest to God, fuck that guy. That's the worst, man. You may regret selling it, but you've sold it. I'm sorry. You can request to buy it back for more money, sure. Because now it's painted and put together. But you can't just say, no, I loaned you those as collateral for a loan, and I want them back. That's not how it works, dude. Go fuck yourself. We're a lowlife. Jesus. That's the first I've heard of anything like that. That's horrible. The next one I've gotten, support and condemnation for, so I'm curious about your thoughts on my particular preferences in opponents. Okay, alright. Let's get into it. I have a small group of guys I enjoy playing with, but I find it difficult to find new opponents. I dislike playing competitive as I want to take whatever I want onto the field. I spent a lot of time on my tanks, and I'm fielding them, meta or not. Here's the issue. I don't have a lot of free time. I don't want to spend my free time getting tabled on turn 1 or 2. But a lot of who's left after you subtract the competitive crew are a lot of special needs guys, and I don't want to stand there with some 20-something guy that prattles on about his custom chapter I didn't ask about, or the backstory of his captain that nobody cares about. This may seem cold, but he's got a point. But generally, they have no social grace or intelligence, as they can't pick up on the polite hints that I'm not interested, and faking interest feels like I'm lying. I struggle to hold any meaningful conversation, as it's usually extremely one-sided on their side. Now, I love the lore. Personally, I've read tons of books from the Black Library, but fundamentally I know that my passion is personal and usually doesn't translate well into a conversation with strangers. I call it the D&D issue. Playing is awesome, fun and interesting, but hearing about somebody else talk about it is just boring to me. But back to my issue. I don't want to play with people who have special needs. Shit. Alright, okay. I don't enjoy playing with them. I've had games against younger kids and enjoyed them, so it isn't like that. It isn't personal, I just find it wears on my patience in a unique way. I have never said anything rude to them or demeaned them in any way, but I'm not sure how to handle it. I'm not going to play a game I know I won't enjoy. But I get told I should just suck it up and endure a 3 to 5 hour session of somebody monologuing at me about his space wolves and how they mate with their wolfen and have a deeper bond because of it. Oh my god. Oh my days. While he acts out how his marines would react to their furry friends dying. Standing there full voice screaming in anguish and vowing vengeance. True story. I want to hear that story. That's cool. I was so uncomfortable and just wanted him to stop talking. Since then, I refuse to play with anybody with special needs. I politely state I have to reschedule or have something come up and just never reschedule. I have a small group that plays and I'm happy with them, but I've been told that I'm a bad guy for doing this. What's your opinion? Even if I am the villain in this at the end of the day, it's my time and I will play with whoever I choose to play with regardless of the reason. I'm just curious if my point of view is valid to anybody else. What do you do to play or give yourself patience with somebody with special needs? Cheers. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I think I've played with 1 or 2 people with special needs in my time and that's it. And they've both been fine, so I don't know. I can't tell you advice on how to play with somebody with special needs because I've never really done it to the point where somebody's mating with their wolf, and that's a bit weird. In terms of your own hobby time, fuck them. Don't fuck the people with special needs. That's not what I mean. I mean, fuck them as in, you know, it's your own hobby time. It's your hobby time. You do what you want with your own time. It's precious. Your gaming time, your hobby time is precious. So you do whatever you want to do with your people. The way to go about it is cultivate the people that you enjoy having games with. If you've enjoyed a game with somebody, cultivate that person like a gardener. You know, plant them in your garden of potential games and nurture them. Say, hey dude, I really enjoyed that game. Do you mind if we play again sometime? And they're going to go, yeah dude, no problem. Okay, cool. And so you do that. And then once you've played a few games, you exchange numbers. Now you've got a hobby friend. That's what you do. You cultivate the games you like. And you start to grow your garden of potential game matches that you can have. That's what I did. I went from, in my local area, I went from having 1 person I could play with who lived in bloody Sheffield. Now I've got 4 or 5 people that I can play with because I played games with them. They enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And we played a few more games, we swapped numbers, and I'm cultivating those relationships to make sure that they're in my life because they're very good in the hobby. Even if they're douchebags outside of the hobby, as long as I can have good games with them, I'm going to cultivate that relationship because it does something for me, right? That's what you should do. That's what you should do. Anytime you have a good game anywhere, make sure that you cultivate that person. You said you've already got a group here of people that you like to play with, but every now and again you get saddled with somebody who is with special needs because they're not competitive. Okay, fine. If you play a competitive player, that fits your description of a good game, cultivate that person. And let people know what you're into. Let people know that you're not really a competitive person. And that's what you're into. Avoid the people in the group that you don't want to play. Just do not put yourself out there like does anyone want a game? If you know there are people in that group you don't want to play. You're just creating controversy and annoyances for everybody involved. Alright? If somebody's looking for a game and they look normal, they act normal, go and play with them. And I would actually bite the bullet. Maybe you're way on the side of the narrative side of the hobby. Maybe take a list that's not so much really competitive, but has competitive elements to it, and play that way. I play, for instance, a Space Marine chapter that is very, very, very focused on close combat. But I built them in a way that I can give anybody a hard time. Literally anybody. My list will give anybody a hard time. My army itself will give anybody a hard time. It's not going to be a walk in the park for them. I will lose most of my battles against competitive players, but it won't be a walk in the park. If you really want to be a narrative gamer, then be a narrative gamer and stop caring about win-loss records. As long as you're getting your game to turn 4 or 5, that's a win in your book. So go for that. Cultivate the players that you like, ignore the players that you don't. That's what you do. And don't advertise, for God's sake, that you don't want to play with people who have special needs. That sounds like you're a colossal fucking douchebag. Don't do that. Just keep it to yourself and don't do it. Alright? That's what you should do. And if you do find somebody with special needs who's a good gamer, cultivate that person as well. Alright? Okay. Durian Bob says... Durian Bob? Okay. Durian Bob says... Hi North. I wanted to share today a story about how my dream became a nightmare and what I learned from it going forwards. Okay. This is not one with a happy ending, but is one with a satisfying and hopefully hopeful one. When I graduated college in 2013, I was determined to go into game design. I've always been a good artist and would write complete rule sets for tabletop games and RPGs in university that my friend groups and wider gaming societies would play. Before I could get into this too heavily though, my mother passed away, which left me as an orphan with quite a hefty inheritance. After the heartbreak of that and the hardships that came with it, I decided to chase a dream with my inheritance. I wanted to make Games Workshop. Not a store like it, but like what Games Workshop used to be back in the UK when it first started. I wanted to create a store that did its own bespoke games as well as carrying lots of other games here in Illinois. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, that's what Games Workshop used to be. It used to be a store that did its own little games in the back, but it did the big guys, D&D, things like that. They even used to sell like train sets and stuff. It was weird. I was a little nervous about diving in with both feet, but my parents had always told me to chase my dreams, and this was a pipe dream if ever there was one. But hey, what the hell. I bought some property in a decent area and went to work renovating the space with the help of a few friends who I paid for their time. Before long, after calling up a few stock sellers and Games Workshop themselves, I put in my orders for my first batch of stock after registering my store and paying my rent up. We were ready to go. The first few years were amazing at the store. We hit every target I wanted to hit, and my initial movements of game design went extremely well, as I essentially gave the rules away for free to my games to spread them by word of mouth. We then did RPG campaigns in the store using those rules only, and before long I was selling models to be used in that particular game. A game you could play nowhere else but my store. A skirmish RPG game. I was doing it. Those were sleepless nights, but in a good way. I was so excited and had so many ideas that I found it hard to sleep. They were good times. They remain some of the best years of my entire life. I got a girlfriend in this time too, not one who would ruin this store or this story. That seems to happen a lot in these tales, but not this time. She supported me as best she could as we got on with the business at hand. Eventually, however, the pandemic hit, and everyone was smashed by government regulations when it came to my area. It was like Laurie Lightfoot, our mayor, wanted independent stores completely gone to make way for big businesses. Don't get me wrong, I'm well aware that many smaller businesses fail, and so mayors of local cities and towns don't really want them around, especially in blue states, but mine was doing really well. I had turned down 3 offers for my space from much larger retail companies who wanted to buy me out in my time before the pandemic hit. If I was a conspiracy theory nutjob, the pandemic coming along was very convenient for big businesses to buy up absolute masses of what used to be beautiful and diverse high street real estate at cut prices at one time. Slowly, little guys and family businesses were swallowed up by Walmarts, Targets, and other massive brands and amalgamated into a grey sludge. I was one of the last family-run stores on my street. I was insanely popular as a store in terms of profitability, but all that meant. Sorry, I'm going to have to take a sip of tea because I'm about to cough here. I was one of the last family-run stores on my street. Insanely popular as a store in terms of profitability, but all that meant was that the offers to sell got bigger day by day, month by month. The pandemic killed the business. No customers meant my only recourse against such offers was completely nuked from orbit. Before long, the sharks started to circle. I was heavily in debt over the pandemic, and my girlfriend left me over such debt. Oh man, I'm really sorry. I almost lost everything trying to keep my store alive and the dream going, and in the end, I was forced to sell my store for a fraction of what it was worth, and what I could have gotten for it, just to avoid losing my home. Oh, Jesus. But hey, the state of Illinois got what it wanted, I guess. Small businesses thrown to the wall in favour of big corporations. That's the thing people don't get in the UK. My wife right now, as if you're getting a new one, my wife right now, who I met after my girlfriend, is British. In the UK, small businesses are often more supported by the Labour government, so she says, than the Conservative government, although Labour are left-leaning and the Conservatives are more right-leaning. Over here in the US, it's the people on the left who hate capitalism, who despise stores like mine. Democrats want big businesses and give them breaks all the time, and whilst the Republicans also do that, they do also really value small businesses like mine. The American dream is something that their voters really go for, so going against that is not in their best interests. Unfortunately, I live in a blue state. This is not a political argument. It literally is how it is for me. I ran my store under the Republicans for 4 years and had enough tax breaks and aid that my store exploded in popularity and means from 2016 to 2020. As soon as the pandemic happened, a blue person like Laurie Lightfoot was able to strangle guys like me with little to no oversight from Washington. Washington had bigger fish to fry and bigger problems. Elections, for instance. When Biden got in, that was the writing on the wall for guys like me, small business owners. We were annihilated with tax rates and preferential treatment given to massive corporations. Again, I have no dog in this fight. I am simply telling you how it went for me and other business owners just like me. It was abysmal. I vote for who is good for me and my family. That's it. I don't buy into the left versus right bullcrap. I am sure folks in your comments may be coming up with very specific and particular examples to prove themselves right, despite ignoring most of the evidence that proves them wrong, or of how their experiences were different because I said something they don't like about the parties that they like, but they can fuck right off. Alright, dude, Jesus Christ. No one said anything yet. I lost everything because my state valued big businesses over ones like my own, self-made businesses. Okay, I'm going to say this as Northern Exile here. I don't know the ins and outs of what this guy is talking about. When I lived in the States, it did come across to me from even Democrats that, yeah, you know, big pharma and big corporations, they like the Democrats. They like the tax breaks that they get and things like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure that like the Republicans get, you know, give tax breaks as well. I don't know, but that was something that was argued quite a lot when I was in the States. Was that, you know, small businesses want Republican government. Don't know. I guess it's because of like the old school American dream sort of thing. Getting your own business and making it your own thing with your own sweat and blood, and it becomes this really cool, profitable business. That's kind of the American dream, isn't it? It's kind of what people are supposed to do. And I think a lot of people equate the Republicans with that, with the preservation of that American dream. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. It's just the, how shall I say? It's the feeling that I was given when I was in the States. And I taught in a Democrat school as well. I taught in a very blue school, where they were taught very blue ideals. And a lot of them were very socialist in agendas. And in terms of being socialists, I know people say, well, they would hate companies. Nah, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Because it's easy to give everybody the same thing when we all work for fucking Amazon, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. But I don't know. I'm a moron. So please, don't be jumping down my throat in the comments. But this is the experience of this guy. So we need to take it at face value, I'm afraid. If this is what's happened to him, this fucking sucks. So, I lost my store. I saw it turned into a Barnes & Noble, because we really needed another one of those fucking places. Look, I love bookstores, but my lord, do we really need another one? That store is also gone now, and what remains is an empty unit where my store used to be, decaying and just sitting there. Progress, if you ask our local government, another place for the fucking homeless to squat. So, what is going on these days? Well, in a panic, I took any job I could and ended up working for another hobby store, which, let me tell you, was painful. The job itself was fine, but going from one to the other sucked big time. Yeah, I can imagine, yeah, owning your own store, then becoming a staff member somewhere else, that must suck, dude. Eventually, though, I applied for a few jobs in my original field of game design and ended up getting an interview through a friend who is also an ex-customer of mine, and a loyal one at that. I got that job as a staff writer and have not looked back. I now work for that company, designing games and reworks for rules and law. I won't say which one, and I've done so for about 18 months now. I'm up for a promotion at the end of this year, so wish me luck. I may get my own team, as we gear up for the next edition of our flagship game. Again, I won't say the game, even in a follow-up email, if you ask for it, as it could lead me to getting into big trouble. Anyway, thanks for all you do, Durian. Okay, well that's cool, but you could tell me in an email, and I won't say it out loud on the stream or on the videos. You never know. But I'm really sorry you lost your business there, dude. That absolutely sucks. And this is the first time we've seen the pandemic shut down a business in our hobby nightmares. That absolutely sucks, dude. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I don't know about all the politics and stuff of the local area. Like where I was, even though we were in a blue state, it was very Republican, you know, where I was. So I'm not sure about all that kind of stuff. You got the British stuff kind of wrong. Both the differences between Labour and Conservative right now in the UK are very blurred, and they're trying to differentiate themselves from each other every day. But it just, all that does is make me think, you know, you're trying to hide something. I don't know. Politics in the UK is a shit show, dude. So, you know, I don't think anybody supports local small businesses these days. People want to do what makes them the most money, and if it's not local businesses, they're not going to do it. It just is what it is. We don't have the sheer economical power of the US to be able to just go, we want small businesses, hurrah! We can't do that. We're a small country. So, you know, it is what it is. But anyway, I've loved you a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for some more hobby nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.